This is how we get down. What's good, everybody? Welcome into the Coaching Company podcast. We're here every single weekday, even on the holidays. It is a national holiday here in the United States, Martin Luther King Day, but sports never stops going. I am the coach. If you missed any of the morning show, I encourage you to go back and watch it on demand at our Coaching Company YouTube page. And let me turn my I'm so tired of these new iPhone updates. Are you guys? I certainly am. All right. We have the Coaching Company morning show today on Stadium. You can watch it back on YouTube this afternoon, 2 to 4 Eastern time. You guys know what time it is. Off the ropes on Channel 156 Pro Wrestling Nation 24/7. And you guys have really found the Coach and Bro show just growing fast. On our BTT YouTube page, we have a live show today at 5 p.m. Eastern time. What a weekend it was. I'll get to that in a second. But tonight, in Miami. And I saw a lot of people on social media talking about the last game that was at the stadium a couple of weeks ago and how logistically it's an absolute nightmare. I tell you right now, if you're going to the game tonight, I would absolutely prepare for two things. Either A, be prepared to walk 3 to 4 miles to get to an Uber, or be prepared to hang out 3 to 4 hours for an Uber to get into the stadium. A lot of fans don't realize. And Miami's always been a great destination when it comes to Super Bowls, big bowl games, because of the nightlife, because of all the things you can do in the Miami area. What they have failed to realize is that this football stadium for big events is outdated, severely outdated. It is right on like where one highway comes into another and they like kind of intersect. There's very little parking for a 65,000 seat stadium. And also the exits take you right into the stadium parking lot. It was the worst designed stadium of all time. And you're going to see it tonight. I'm telling you, it'll be like tweeting. This is what Coach was talking about. But as far as the game is concerned, I think we have an interesting one that we have Miami, who is a team that everybody said didn't belong there. They didn't even win their league championship in the ACC. And then you've got Indiana that became the number one team. They went to Oregon early in the season, and that's when we realized, okay, maybe they have something. Then their quarterback started playing great. All of a sudden, he's the favorite for the Heisman. Then he wins the Heisman. Then they get the number one seed. They knock out Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game, and they have not looked back. In their 2 games so far in the college football playoff, they have absolutely dominated. It has not been close. They have been far and away the best team in this whole damn thing. And I think because of that, there's been some false narratives that have started to appear. I love good college stories. But Fernando Mendoza is starting to feel like the Tim Tebow of 2026. And for some of you watching, you might be too young to remember what happened when Tim Tebow was at Florida and then coming out into the NFL. And he was a great college quarterback. They had great teams. They had a ton of success. He became the face of college football. And because of that popularity, just like Mendoza right now, he was drafted by the Denver Broncos. And everybody knew that he wasn't good enough to play quarterback in the NFL, but they drafted him anyway. And then by circumstance, he was able to become a starter. By circumstance, they got a playoff game. By circumstance, he completed an 80-yard pass approximately in overtime to win the game and became the hero for about 24 hours. That was Tim Tebow's career in a nutshell. And Fernando Mendoza is going to have the same career. Everybody's talking about how he's the overwhelming number one pick. Well, it's because this class is terrible when it comes to high-level quarterbacks. And I'm telling you right now, I hope I'm wrong because I love the kid. I love the story. I'm a sucker for these kind of stories in sports in general. But yes, college football, the family dynamic, the mother situation just rips your heart out. And you want to see them win because of that. But that story does not translate into number one pick in the NFL. And if they make him the number one pick, I think it will be a mistake. But for tonight, he's going to be probably the best player on the field. And if you haven't watched Indiana play to this point, you're about to be amazed. They don't do anything in a spectacular fashion. They have 2 running backs that are absolute dogs. They have wideouts that are absolute dogs. They have an offensive line, absolute dogs, and they will wear you down. They will wear you out. And that is why when they also score, you feel very, very overwhelmed. And when you beat Alabama, what was the score of that game? 38-3 over Alabama, 38-3. And then they absolutely dismantle Oregon for a second time, forcing Dante Moore to go back to school because they made him play so badly that he knew he wouldn't be a first-round pick. That's how good this Indiana team has become. And what's going to start happening now? Well, Kurt Cignetti said he's going to be there for life. He's 64 years of age. It took him until 4 years ago just to become a Division I head coach. Can you imagine coaching for damn near 40 years and being in some big schools, but never getting that job? And then when he finally did, it was places like Elon and these places you've never heard of. Then James Madison. That was supposed to be his big one. He wasn't supposed to come to Indiana and shake up the college football world. But people can look at how he does it. And if you're willing to do it that way, you can absolutely have high school kids, absolutely have 3-star recruits. But you got to be willing to sit and wait for a couple of years. But that's going to be the new normal, not the, hey, we pay these guys $5, $6, $7 million in NIL money. By the way, did we see the Duke story over the weekend? It's embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing what this NIL situation has turned into. Mensa was already committed to going back to Duke. And then Miami, who obviously plays tonight, they lose Carson Beck. So they've been offering millions to several different quarterbacks, and they have lost every single one. So apparently his buyout, and this is how crazy the numbers are. So his buyout, because now these places are getting really, really smart, and if we're going to pay you $4 or $5 million, then guess what the buyout's going to be? $4 to $5 million. So if Mensa wants to leave Duke and go play football at Miami and make $5 million, well, that's going to cost them $10 million because you got to pay Duke $4 to $5 million. And they should have to. It should hurt a little bit if you sign your name on the dotted line for a lot of money to play college football and then you go into the portal right after you do that. And he's not the first player this year to do it. That's how crazy this thing is. Miami understands that if we don't get a high-level quarterback by next season, we're going to go from the national title game to 7-5 or 7-6. That's how important these quarterbacks are. But they're making it so the number to get them is absolutely out of this world. And that's why the Indiana story is so extraordinary. So enjoy the game tonight. We have, I think, 8 or 10 plays on the morning show from the game tonight. Great analysis as well. I'm just going to watch it. We thought about doing a live watch along, and when you do 4 shows in a day, it gets a little bit tiring on the voice. So we will not be doing a watch along tonight. But I can tell you that coming up in February, we're going to be starting a lot of new things here at the brand. We're going to be starting watch alongs with Vince Russo, with myself, with Big Tommy, looking back at matches that we were involved in, we're there for, ringside for. And then on the sports side, if you are a premium member, we're going to be doing our premium pop-ups on random Tuesdays and Wednesdays whenever we have the time, because live betting is just a lot of fun. And, talking about the lines and the stories while the games are going on, just a ton of fun. All right, you are listening or watching the Coaching Company podcast. We're here on weekdays, even on holidays. So over the weekend, there's a reason why the NFL is king, because you get games like we had over the weekend. Now, for the most part, exciting games coming right down to the wire. But the stories that are coming out of these 4 games, absolutely extraordinary. This morning, right before we went on the air, it was breaking news that the Buffalo Bills have decided to part ways with head coach Sean McDermott. And this is it's kind of on brand for where the NFL is going currently. And you have all of these teams that are ultra successful, at least on paper. And I don't want to see anybody lose their job, never. But I also want us to evaluate these teams and coaches for what they are. And if you've been at a team for, 8 to 10 years and you're highly successful, meaning into the playoffs, deep into the playoffs, well, you're resetting the standard. You're resetting the expectations. And so when a head coach of a team that has been there every single year gets fired, you're going to have some people go, man, where are they going to go? What are they going to get? Well, the ultimate goal in sport is to win it all. Your ultimate goal in sport is to win the championship. And Buffalo understands that they have the best quarterback in the history of their franchise. And they're blowing his years. Now, you could argue, hey, he could have hit his tight end in stride and they could still be playing. Yeah, that's possible. But Josh Allen has been incredible in the regular season. He's an MVP. But when it gets to the postseason, for whatever reason, and sometimes you look up at the football gods and you say, why? Why are these things happening? Because they don't make a lot of sense. The Buffalo Bills in the 90s went to the Super Bowl 4 straight years. Jim Kelly was one of the greats. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. They won 0. And now they have a better quarterback in Josh Allen. And what has happened? Well, Mahomes was his kryptonite. And now divisional rounds are his kryptonite. And he's now into his 30s. And there are great names out there like Dan Fouts, like Dan Marino, who were great NFL quarterbacks, and for whatever reason, were never able to climb to the top of the mountain. And it's starting to feel more and more like Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen are going to be quarterbacks in that vein. When you have 3 or 5 great ones that come into the league at the same time, there's going to be somebody left on the outside. There's going to be somebody that just can't get in to the Legends Lounge, as we call it here on the show. And unfortunately, that appears to be Josh Allen. Watching him try to get it together, knowing what it takes from it's not just the summer guys. We're talking this is a year-round sport. And they have some time off. Yeah, they take some vacations. But what you don't see in March and April and May and all of these different drills and workouts and staying in shape and coming into camp ready to go, that's on them as professionals. So it's a year-round thing. So you see that emotion come out of them when the season ends so quickly. You're down 13. You come back and take the lead. Then you get it to overtime. And then in the overtime, you have to not think about the missed passes at the end of regulation. And then at the end, you have a cornerback who loses his mind on a pass interference call that was borderline. You also had a catch that many people thought was a catch for Brandon Cooks. They made that an interception. So there was a lot of things that you could point to, but the bottom line is this. There was way too many mistakes by the Bills. And in all of Josh Allen's playoff losses, the Bills have given up over 31 points a game. So you can bitch, you can moan, you can complain, but you can't give up almost 32 points a game and complain. And so now the Bills, their season ends yet again. But on the flip side of that, again, another extraordinary story, but not in a good way. At the end of that Bills-Broncos game, you had a long pass, the pass interference, all those plays kind of glommed together. But during those plays, Bo Nix broke his ankle. And he was able to stay in the game, do the kneel down, and then they kicked the game winner. He then did his post-game press conference. At no point, unless you go back and watch the video where he was limping around, did anybody know that he had just broken his ankle. So now, Bo Nix, also very young in his career. Drake May, very young in his career. But now you'd have to say that the Patriots should have the advantage because Drake May is going to be the MVP of the league in year number 2. If I'm a Patriots fan, I am beyond excited because I would have thought it would take another 10, 15, 20 years to find my franchise quarterback. You have him right now. And you're going to have him just like you had Tom Brady. Barring injury, the next 10 to 20 years, you guys are locked. You have your head coach during that time too. Mike Vrabel, you guys are locked. Patriots and Broncos, Jarrett Stidham and Drake May. And the Patriots yesterday showed once again, yeah, they're young, but they have some absolute studs. And if I'm CJ Stroud, I have got to figure out what does my game look like? What does my career look like? Because just like with the Bills, who are making a change at the top, the Texans and CJ Stroud, yeah, they have their franchise quarterback, and they have made it 3 years in a row. D'Amico Ryans has proven that he can coach, and he's a great defensive mind. But CJ Stroud, you simply cannot turn the ball over this much. You can't do it. 4 interceptions, 5 turnovers, 8 combined in the game yesterday. The week before, they somehow were able to overcome. But this week, it's very hard to overcome on the road against a really, really good team like the Patriots. So it will be in the early game, I believe 3 p.m. Eastern time. You will have the Patriots traveling to Denver without Bo Nix for the right to represent the AFC. Now, in the NFC, this one, I'm super excited, but I'm wondering if I'm going to be let down. Now, a few weeks ago, it was the game of the year, and it was a standalone weekday game, and it ended up being 38-37 with a couple of the greatest plays you'll ever see in a game ever. 2-point conversions that were bananas, 2-point conversions that the ball's just laying there, pick up, 2 points. And then the game ended that way as well. So the Rams yesterday, and it was Heartbreak Hotel for the Chicago Bears, but they figured out a way. And this is why I love Sean McVay so much, because any other coach probably in the moment would not have done this. But the Rams gave up what I am calling, and I'd have to go back and watch a lot of plays, which I'm not going to do, by the way. But perhaps the greatest game-tying 4th down play in the history of the NFL by Caleb Williams. The week after last week, another 4th down play where he was running to his left and kind of throws it cross-body. That was sick. This was sicker. He ran back, turning 2 or 3 different times all the way back outside of the 40-yard line, turns around, sees his tight end in the back of the end zone, and just throws it up. Now, by the time we saw the 2 players in the end zone, it looked like he had shoved him because he was wide open. But it's very hard or very easy to misjudge a ball when it's coming as a defensive back. But when you run it back and you watch the replay, you realize there was no push off. They were just battling for position, and he's just a big, strong tight end. And it was one of the greatest plays of all time. So at that moment, you felt like there's a lot of momentum for the Bears. But what did Sean McVay do? He got everybody into a huddle. He's like, hey, let's go right now. Because Sean McVay is a very in-the-moment kind of guy, a very in-the-moment kind of coach. There's a reason why he is so beloved by the media, and the minute he decides, I don't want this life anymore, he will have a 7-figure job by some network, probably before the ink dries on his resignation. And he has his team, again, doing work. I also like that he's not too cool for school. What do I mean by that? Is that when something good happens, he gives a little fist pump. When something good happens, he high-fives his players. He hugs them. He gets in their face. He reinforces. He's an old-school kind of coach. And I want all of us to get back to that, because that's at the root of sports, is guts and showing up in the biggest moments. So he has his team in a huddle, 17-17. And then they go out there and they get stopped immediately. And he said after the game, horrible call by me, because he calls the offensive plays on that 3rd down play. Because once you kick it to the Bears now, all those rules are out the window. Everybody gets to touch it once. That's done. So now their defense gets called on the carpet. So what happens? Caleb Williams driving his team down. It really felt like one more completion, and the Bears will be in field goal position. And he throws an interception that was phenomenal by the Rams. They get the ball back, and then Matthew Stafford does what Matthew Stafford does, and he drives his team right down the field. They kick the field goal and win 22-17. Gutsy. Last week in Carolina, the Rams were down twice in the 4th quarter. Gutsy. And then on the other side, you've got the Seahawks, the number 1 seed. Off week. Would they have rust? No, they did not. What happened? Right when they kick it off, Rashid Shaheed takes it to the house, and even the kicker tried to trip him. Embarrassing. That set the tone. They were up 17-0 before San Francisco even knew what hit them. It may not matter. I hope this game is as good as the last one. I really, really do. But if the Seahawks play like that, it will not matter in this game or when we get to the Super Bowl. I do believe the Seahawks are the best team in the NFL. Now, can Sam Darnold get over the hump? Can he make this team look like they're the best team in the entire league? That remains to be seen. But I think that they are. And I think it's going to be a really, really cool championship weekend. I don't want to hear anybody in the negativity of, oh, Bo Nix is out. Jarrett Stidham has been in the league. He has a few NFL starts underneath his belt. It's going to be on Sean Payton to put him in a position to help that offense succeed. And then the defense has never had a more important game than what they have this coming week against this Patriots team. All right, this week, very, very busy week here at BTT Studios. We'll be here live every single day at 10 a.m. Eastern Time on Stadium, YouTube, and social media. Off the Ropes every weekday on SiriusXM channel 156. But the easiest thing to do is follow me on social media at The Coach Rules. Subscribe to both of our YouTube channels and turn on your notifications. And every time we start a show, ding, you will be notified. This is going to be a really, really big year for us. We want you to tell all of your friends because we're growing. And we're going to be growing very, very, very soon. In the meantime, enjoy the games today and enjoy the national championship game tonight. That's going to do it for now. For my guys behind the scenes, I am the coach. We'll see you next time right here on the Coach and Company podcast.